we've talked a lot about this in between media this season. There's going to be curveballs coming your way.
Hate's a strong word. I dislike Kirk Cousins more than probably any other quarterback in the league.
I get a little bit of that rookie-itis,
I would have said, I would love some of what you're smoking.
Even though I'm straight, I'm still stuck between an interpretation, what it all means. Can I make a difference for something different? My mind in prison, then I saw the vision. Played the field, it's no competition. Found success through the repetition. If it's impossible, stick to the mission. I'm just cruising through on my way to get it. I found myself somewhere in between. Yeah, I found myself somewhere in between. Found myself somewhere in between. Yeah, I found myself somewhere in between. The In Between Fantasy Football Podcast.
So one thing that really sets us apart here is we're not afraid to talk about other things that maybe aren't super fantasy related.
Do what you can to become a better person, to become a better human.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's Tuesday, October 26th. This is the In Between Fantasy Football Podcast. Seth Woolcock back with you. Nate Polvo, aka Sad Broncos fan, also back with you tonight. And it looks like Scott Rynier, our guy out there holding it down in Seattle, he has survived the bipocalypse as well. Guys, how are we doing? It is week 8. I feel like I kind of need to take almost like a Zach Morris, like Saved by the Bell timeout pause here because, we're already at the end of October. Halloween is this week. Week 8 is coming up, which would traditionally be the halfway point in the fantasy football season. So I'm calling timeout here. Welfare check on you guys.
I can't believe how fast the season's going. And I can't believe how painful it's been to get this far in fantasy, like the injuries and just wow. And then punctuate that, I'm a sad Broncos fan. Forgot to change it from a show earlier. And it's pouring rain and cold here. Like fall is officially here.
Yep, same here. Just substitute Seahawks for Broncos. But
yeah.
Sad Seahawks fan, raining, cold, although I like that. Some teams are separating themselves from the pack in opposite directions. Unfortunately for Nate and I, our teams are going in the wrong direction. The one saving grace is nice is the NFL did give us a little bit of a gift. After bye NATO, we only have 2 buys this week.
That's true.
And so it's the Raiders and the Ravens. So not nearly as many players out.
Can you imagine if the Ravens had been one of those teams on bye last week, like take out one of the crappier fantasy teams and throw in Baltimore?
True. It wouldn't have taken any running backs off the board though.
Well, no, that's true. But
hey, Devonta Freeman would like to have a word with you, Scott.
He can have all the words he wants.
That's fine. I'm not starting him.
Guys, we did, despite the bipocalypse, we did have a lot of fantasy football action. We're going to kind of assess the landscape, give you what you need to take away from it and how you can apply it here to week 8 and moving past that as well. We have temperature check for you on the show, a little matchup management, as always, some sure thing sleepers of the week, and we're going to round it out some weekly advice. As always, we're taking any questions, comments you guys have, either lifestyle, fantasy football related, your choice there. But if you do want to ask those questions, head over to our YouTube channel so we can get those up on the screen for you guys. Guys, with that said, I think we should jump right in. We're pretty packed today. I don't think there really is a busier time in the fantasy football season than week 8. This is really the time it's make or break for a lot of these teams.
Yeah, it definitely is. And we're seeing some interesting situational changes, injuries affecting a player's value. And at this point in the fantasy season, it's really time to start making some moves. If you're contending and you have a weak spot, go find someone who's not contending and get the player you need to make sure you're staying in the hunt.
Yep, and start looking at those matchups come fantasy playoffs. If you've got a solid record right now and some bench flexibility, look at those matchups. Not necessarily somebody you're going to start right away, but somebody that might be able to clean house for you. In I guess this year it's week 15, 16, 17. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, we will have a couple of those players coming up on our buy low edition of Temperature Check. This week, guys, I am very pleased to announce that Temperature Check is presented by Monkey Knife Fight. Monkey Knife Fight, if you guys haven't heard of them, we're super excited to be partnering with them for the rest of the fantasy football and the NFL season. If you're not familiar with Monkey Knife Fight, guys, it's really one of the fastest growing DFS apps and platforms out there. It's unique, easy to play, and it features their famous more or less contests. And we feature these every weekend on our DFS show as well. So you can check that out on Sunday mornings with Bo McBigtime and Connor Coughlin. Guys, if you want to check out Monkey Knife Fight, I highly recommend it because you're not going to be forced to play with these professionals. Bo, Connor, the guys every week who are slinging it for us, who know what they're talking about when it comes to DFS. You don't have to play with those guys in this. There's no time-consuming salary cap like you see in DraftKings or FanDuel. And, you can pick, a ton of sports here, guys. Football, baseball, basketball, soccer, golf, NASCAR, UFC. If you're into esports at all, League of Legends, CSGO, any of those are great options as well for you. And I think the best part about partnering with Monkey Knife Fight, guys, is we have all those sports covered here at In Between Media, or at least a majority of them with football, golf, NASCAR, UFC. So, guys, check out Monkey Knife Fight. We're going to throw it one more time back up on the screen for you. If you do want to check it out, use the promo code IBT. You're going to get a free $5 game and 100% instant match of your deposit up to $100. So, great value there from IBT and Monkey Knife Fight. Guys, let's go ahead and head into some Temperature Check.
Temperature Check.
That's really spicy. Holy shit.
All right.
I love that every time.
Yeah, every time.
So hot, baby. So hot. So we're going to give you a little bit of maybe what you would call hot takes. We'll see what happens with some of these buy lows and sell highs, because I feel like it's always trading conversations is always something that can really upset a fantasy football manager. Whether they have one of these guys that you're saying to buy low on, or you're telling them to give away someone who's been producing for their team. So, guys, let's go ahead and go through all of our buy lows. Nate, I want to start with you, man. Your buy low is an interesting one who a lot of people can actually probably don't even have to trade for in redraft leagues and probably just grab up after the waiver wires clear this week.
Yeah, so I'm hot on Donovan Peoples-Jones, and I have a handful of reasons for this. So first of all, if you look at week 5 and week 6, they went up against the Los Angeles Chargers and the Arizona Cardinals, both very solid defenses. He had 6 targets and 5 catches against the Chargers for 70 yards. And then he had 5 targets for 4 catches, 101 yards, and 2 touchdowns against Arizona. We're staring down the barrel of Jarvis Landry possibly not coming back this season. Odell Beckham Jr. hasn't been great. I think they're going to start phasing him out of that offense. He's going to see a severely limited amount of probably snap share in general. I don't see him being on the field nearly as often. He's just not clicking there. The next guy up is Donovan Peoples-Jones. He's got Denver, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati. Then he's got New England in week 10, Detroit week 11. They go Baltimore back-to-back with a bye in between in 12 and 14. But then for the fantasy playoffs, they've got Vegas, Green Bay, and Pittsburgh, which I don't hate. I think, and he's like you said, Seth, he's a guy you can get on waivers right now for free. You don't even have to trade for him. You can just go get him. I mean, can you buy any lower than that?
So to catch everyone up from the last week's episode, Jen was on here. It was one of her Sure Thing Sleepers of the Week. Donovan Peoples-Jones actually did not play on the Thursday night game. I actually had him locked into my lineup. I started him in a league because we didn't get the news until about 8 o'clock, 8:01 or 8:15, whenever the game started. We got the news right after that. So he did not play with a groin injury. Jarvis Landry, your boy Juice, he looked great, but then he went out. Yes. I think what last drive of the game did he go out? And
it was early. It was a little bit earlier than that, but okay. It was concerning. Yeah.
Yeah. We don't have a status update on him yet. OBJ went out of this game with a shoulder injury, came back in, looked okay at times. I don't know. I worry about, honestly, like rostering any Browns pass catchers at this point. Scott, do you think DPJ is a guy you wouldn't mind throwing on at the end of your rosters here for free?
I have no issue if the price is right. I mean, if he's free off waivers or a little bit of money off waivers, I mean, he's a warm body. He's shown some flashes. I will disagree just a smidge with his playoff matchup. I mean, it's a long ways away, but Vegas is currently where are they at? They're third against wide receivers. And
Okay, fair enough.
And Pittsburgh's 30th, so that's good. Who was the other team they're playing in that playoff matchup?
It is Pittsburgh. It is Green Bay.
Green Bay is 8th. So again, a lot can happen between now and then. And we are starting to get to the point of the season where looking at full season fantasy points allowed can start to skew a little.
Yes.
Maybe want to pay attention to just the last few weeks.
Yeah.
But I mean, as far as a waiver wire pickup, if I've got a bench spot that's just rotting away or somebody that just isn't going to pan out, I have no problem with him.
Well, and I think too, what you can't discount is that the Browns are in the hunt right now.
It's true.
And
That's
Baker
true.
Mayfield knows it, and you may not like Baker Mayfield, but the dude can put it together when he has to. And right now, I mean, we don't know how long they're going to be riding Case Keenum. And Case Keenum actually looked pretty decent throwing the ball in that offense. So,
And once Chubb comes back, that will take a little bit of pressure off the pass catchers.
absolutely.
Yeah, good point. I'm definitely excited to see this offense once he comes back. And Case Keenum, just a true professional. Obviously, his time with Stefanski and the success they had in Minnesota weighs into what we saw on Thursday night when they got that W. But overall, all right, you heard it here. Donovan Peoples-Jones, Nate's saying to go out and buy low on him. Scott, who you got here for us?
I've got somebody who I already have stashed, but it's possible he's hitting waiver wires or you could get him pretty cheap, and that's Trey Lance, quarterback, San Francisco 49ers. So the reason I have him as a buy low, this is more of a little bit more of a long play, a little bit more of this is not somebody you want to pick up to win you your game in week 8, obviously.
Right.
He's banged up. Giraffolo is still kind of the starter. But what I'm looking at with Trey Lance, I'm looking at that end of season schedule. The 49ers, as far as the current fantasy points allowed to the quarterback position, have one of the easiest remaining schedules. Their fantasy playoffs. I had it somewhere. Their fantasy playoffs are against Atlanta, Tennessee, and Houston, both bottom 6 defenses against the quarterback. And I mean, really, between week 11 and week 17, they only really have a couple tough matchups. And I mean, that's kind of when I'm looking at Trey Lance potentially becoming relevant to your fantasy teams, is more that kind of week 10, week 11 time frame. So he hasn't panned out. He hasn't hit hard right away like everybody expects rookies to. So you might be able to get him cheap.
That's not a terrible call. And
Cool.
Especially it's a good call. I think what punctuates it for me is the running back situation in San Francisco, and Trey Lance is a mobile quarterback. So, and Jimmy Garoppolo is not. I mean, he's just a plodding. He's like a giraffe. The dude can't run. I mean, but Trey Lance can. So yes, Elijah Mitchell looked good on Sunday night. Great. But if they have the option to use Trey Lance's arm and his legs, I think that's a situation Kyle Shanahan's going to lean into. And against these weaker defenses, like to your point, Scott, in the playoffs, when he's actually probably starting, I mean, he could ball out. He could be a guy who's getting you 35 to 40 points a game because of the rushing upside and because Deebo Samuel.
Yeah, he's just one of those guys where, I mean, entering the draft season, I was stashing him for potential league winning upside, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And now some of the season has happened, and I don't know if anyone was expecting him to start winning your league by now. So it hasn't really changed that much to me. So if people start dropping him, if he becomes cheap, I'll take that risk if I've got a bench spot for that potential ceiling down the road for him. And you know, hopefully he'll have George Kittle back.
So Jimmy Giraffolo, what do you guys think of that?
Yeah, that works for me.
But I mean, I'm definitely in agreeal here. If you're having issues at quarterback right now, if you don't have one of these top 10 guys, that's probably where I'm looking at. 12-team leagues, 16-team leagues, and don't forget about Deshaun Watson probably just lying around there too. Like chances are he might be traded here within the next week. So if you need, Nate's shaking his head no, but he's going to end up on Nate's Denver Broncos probably for that one.
Did you not see the report earlier today about Watson?
No.
So Miami and Houston have a deal done. They've come to terms on a deal, but one of the terms is that they want him cleared of all criminal charges before they'll make the trade. So they're pending. Yes, that's a problem because that's not going to happen before the trade deadline. It could. I'm not saying it won't. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a judge. I have no knowledge of the legal system.
Right.
But really, he has 10 felony charges that are being looked at by a grand jury. Is that grand jury going to be like, oh, he wants to play football, let's expedite this? I don't think Watson's playing this season. I don't think it's happening.
Interesting. Scott, did you hear that? I didn't catch that.
No, I had not seen that a deal had been made with those caveats. I had not seen that. I mean, I honestly have not thought about Deshaun Watson really once since this season started, to be honest.
Yeah.
As far as like a viable fantasy player, definitely.
Personally, for all the reasons. I have not. I didn't look his way in any drafts. It just so.
I have him on a roster. I'm like not out of choice, but it's a dynasty super flex. You know what I mean? So you're kind of like handcuffed.
Oh yeah, I'm talking about redraft. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, my gut's telling me no, he's not playing this year.
Yeah, I don't. That's been my gut from the beginning, is that there's no way.
No doubt. Well, all right. Well, Deshaun Watson might be off the market, so we might not see him this year. But Trey Lance is a guy that Nate's suggesting we do target here heading into week 8. Like that call, Nate. The 49ers, they might not have much more to play for here in a couple weeks.
But it was Scott. It wasn't me.
Oh,
I just
my
agreed.
Apologies. My apologies.
You're fine. We've been talking about a lot of stuff.
All right, guys.
All right, Seth.
Nate said Kirk Cousins.
I would never. Also, he's rostered like
Jimmy Giraffolo.
Jimmy Giraffolo.
All right, guys. Moving on from Jimmy Giraffolo, let's go to, and this might be a little hot takey. People out there might be a little surprised by this, but I'm going to go with Julio Jones. I'm calling my shot here. I mean, I get, guys, he has not performed this season. Wide receiver 64 on the season. Only has one double-digit PPR game. That came back in week 2. No touchdowns on the year for him. But I think the thing to realize right now is we haven't seen a healthy Julio Jones since at least sometime in week 3. He hasn't logged a 70% snap share since that breakout game in week 2. I'm just like going to bet on the talent here. I'm going to bet on the Titans a little bit. The Titans have definitely proved to be a better team than I thought they were going to be this season. That defense has really stepped up, but I think that defense is more of a fluke that we're seeing. Like, unless some of these like lower level players are really for real right now, I just feel like they've been playing a little bit bigger than their shoes right now. So I think they're going to need to establish this passing game one way or the other, whether the defense levels out a little bit and they're trailing in games more, or if it's just to get ready for the playoffs. Because if they want a serious shot at winning these playoffs, like, yes, they can ride Derrick Henry so far, but Ryan Tannehill, Julio Jones, AJB, they all have to be on the same page heading into the playoffs. So they're going to compete with Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes, even Justin Herbert, if you want to throw him in there as well. So I'm definitely targeting Julio Jones this week specifically because I think this is when we're going to see the rebound. I think he's getting healthy finally. He's going to log more snaps hopefully this week, and he has the Colts. The Colts are on the docket in week 8. They just gave up a big game to Deebo in a huge rainstorm as well. And the prior 2 weeks, Brandon Cooks had a big week, over 90 yards, and Hollywood Brown had that 2 touchdown performance all in the second half against this Colts team. So bad secondary there. And the Rams, believe it or not, have not had a great secondary either. Khalif Raymond just went pretty yard on them here in Jared Goff's return to Los Angeles. And DK Metcalf as well also had a big game against them lately. So I think that Julio Jones, he's a guy. I'm going to try to trade for him this week. Like, we don't have to give up much. Like, I'm talking, maybe like if I'm strong at RB, maybe like a Michael Carter or something like that. Maybe try to get like Julio Jones. I'd toss like Michael Carter and a lower end wide receiver, try to get back a lower end RB and Julio Jones. Or maybe just, throw another struggling wide receiver to him, Allen Robinson and like an AJ Dillon, kind of shake a hand.
Tyler Boyd. Tyler
Yeah,
Boyd would
Tyler
be a good one
Boyd's
too.
yeah, someone that you really aren't excited of playing. But I mean, I think talent's going to win out eventually here if Julio can stay healthy. So I'm buying low.
Yeah, that's a smart buy. And given their schedule, and I mean, they're playing better, and Tannehill's looked better, and they just obliterated the Chiefs, so they're full of confidence. And I think Julio's going to start getting far more involved in this offense. As long as he can stay on the field, I mean, you're not going to get him for cheaper than you can get him right now.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, with Julio for a while now, it's always just been his health. He's just got that. He's got that hamstring, and hamstrings can just be fickle like that.
Just ask Will Fuller.
I've pulled a hamstring before playing sports, and it was just like I waited and waited and waited and waited and waited. And I felt great, and I tried to run, and there it went. It was just like it's such a tricky thing. So, and I mean, he plays so physically, he plays so fast that it's a roll of the dice with him now that he's gotten older. I think, I mean, if you can get him as a buy low, that potential in that offense that's now improved. When he's healthy, I mean, we all saw that circus catch he had. Like, I mean, he's still doing that. He still can dominate a game. So I think Nate hit it on the head. You're never going to get him probably lower than right now.
Yep.
100%. Like I'm willing to throw out someone who I'm not, a couple people that I'm not really starting right now just to take the shot. It might not pay off. And if that happens, he sits on my bench for, a couple weeks. Maybe I drop him or get rid of him in a couple weeks. Like, I'm willing to take the risk. The big name's still there, and I think at the end of the day, the talent's still there as well. Guys, I think we did have a question from our audience I would like to address as well. Hey, y'all, Wentz or Ryan? So I'm guessing he's asking Carson Wentz or Matt Ryan this week. That's a pretty tough. Carson Wentz has had, 4 straight games right now with 20-plus passing or 20-plus PPR points going into this week. So, I mean, he's definitely pretty interesting, but Matt Ryan kind of just had a hot streak too. Colts playing the Titans this week. Who are the Falcons playing here in
Carolina?
Okay. Well, where are you guys at on this for Chase Wellner? What, Wentz or Ryan?
So I'm leaning Matt Ryan, and it's pretty simple. Calvin Ridley, Kyle Pitts, Cordarrelle Patterson. Like, Ryan has the tools to spread the ball out. We're watching him get better every week. I mean, he's vastly improved from where he was at the beginning of the season, where we're actually seeing high double-digit outputs. He's not throwing interceptions. He's not making as many mistakes. And as he gets more comfortable with Kyle Pitts and that offense, just imagine what's possible for Matt Ryan. He has probably 2 of the most reliable targets in football right now.
Yeah. I agree. And Carson Wentz has looked better, but the Falcons get the Panthers, who are number 1 in the league in fantasy points allowed to running backs. So the way through Carolina is passing, and they're not very good against the pass. Not very good against quarterbacks. Now, neither are the Titans, although they've been a little bit better lately. They did just bottle up Patrick Mahomes. So I'm in agreement. I think it's the weapons for me. It's Calvin Ridley, who has been disappointing. I mean, to say the least. He's a guy I think I had a couple of yards ahead of Devontae Adams in my preseason draft at wide receiver 1 in PPR. So, but he's had some health issues. He did score the touchdown last week. But Kyle Pitts' ascension can only help Calvin Ridley, in my opinion.
Yes.
And Matt Ryan. So, and then you got Cordarrelle Patterson, who is starting to get more carries out of the backfield. He's becoming more of a running back. But he's got that electricity out of the backfield as a receiver too. So I'm going Matt Ryan here.
Yep, I think it's conclusive for me as well. You never know what's going to happen with Carson Wentz in a divisional game against the Titans, who at times have been really good at rushing the quarterback, which is one of obviously Wentz's weaknesses, other than in Week 7, where he kind of looked like he took off a couple times and surprised me with his speed a little bit.
Yeah.
Guys, I want to move forward to some people we're going to be buying low. It is shopping season, guys. Black Friday is around the corner. Christmas is coming up. Let's go on a little shopping spree. Nate, who you got for your first buy low for us, buddy?
So for
sell
my
high, excuse me.
my buy low, I feel deja vu. So my sell high is going to be Dalton Schultz. Dalton Schultz has been fantastic this season. Way more than I think anybody thought he was going to be. He's a tight end 5 in PPR format right now, which is great.
With a bye.
Right, with a bye. His value is like up here right now. Michael Gallup is about to come back. He was activated from IR. He's ready to go. We know Dak likes Michael Gallup. We've seen it in the past. He loves throwing to Michael Gallup. You don't think he's going to be excited to get one of his favorite targets back? And who's that going to eat into? Because it's not going to be CeeDee Lamb, and it's not going to be Amari Cooper. It's going to be Dalton Schultz. It's not great, but we didn't expect Dalton Schultz to do a ton, so you were getting him at the back end of drafts anyways. And now you can deal him and actually get something that can help you win at this point, because I think there's a dip coming for Dalton Schultz. And
would you be looking for like a running, like trade Schultz and a lesser running back for a better running back and like a worse tight end? Is that kind of what you're looking for, you think, Nate?
So I'm looking for like a high end RB2.
Okay.
And then a serviceable flex option. Khalif Raymond comes to mind. Rashad Bateman is someone I'd take because I don't think that what he's going to be has caught up to most fantasy players yet. So there's a belief that he's not going to do much when he's about to explode in that offense. Because he's looked phenomenal in his 2 starts. The volume hasn't been there yet, but I would take that over a Dalton Schultz.
Dalton Schultz has been awesome for me in a couple of leagues. I've been riding him as a flex option. Honestly, like I have Mark Andrews in a couple of leagues, or like TJ Hawkinson, like Scott Fishbowl. I got him real late and been riding him in a couple of dynasty leagues. I had him stashed, and he's definitely been great. But Nate, I definitely think you make that's a fair point. If you're worried about Michael Gallup, now's your time to sell him.
Yep.
I still like I might think Dalton Schultz is for real though. I'll be honest, guys. I think when you have so many talented wide receivers out there that, I just think Dalton Schultz is kind of a matchup nightmare for some of these linebackers. He's a pretty quick dude. But you make a very valid argument, Nate. Scott, split the difference here. Would you be selling Dalton Schultz high?
I mean, I think it's an excellent point with Michael Gallup. I don't know enough about how Dallas operates their offense to know if Gallup comes back, does that directly mean Dalton Schultz not on the field? If he's the pass catching tight end, wouldn't he be on the field and Gallup coming in take away from somebody else? But I don't know. I don't know enough about the inner workings of their offense to know the answer to that. More generally, I can't imagine Dalton Schultz, his target share, his receptions going up when Michael Gallup returns.
Right, absolutely.
From injury. So I'm a little bit on the fence on this one though, because it's a little bit of recency bias with me too, because he saved my tight end position on multiple teams this year.
Yeah.
With people like Jonnu Smith and Blake Jarwin, of course. So it would depend a little bit on how high my trade partner was willing to go for a Dalton Schultz. Mm-hmm. That's the only other problem is he still hasn't grabbed that top end reputation. You know what I mean? He's still he's Dalton Schultz. So I'm just not sure what I'd be able to get for him. But with the way the tight ends look, and you flash that PPR tight end 5, you flash his stats in front of somebody, you might be able to get a good return on him.
Yeah, we didn't see Darren Waller play in week 7. George Kittle is not returning quite yet too. So there's definitely a need for tight end out there. Scott, who is your sell high name here heading into week 8?
So mine's a little interesting. It has some contextual things. Mine is DK Metcalf. Now, I'm a Seahawks fan. I just recently watched the worst football game I think I've ever seen last night. So there's a little bit of recency bias there. But here's my logic on it. This, unlike Trey Lance, this is a win now move. This is a I need to win right now move. Because DK Metcalf still had that long touchdown, so his box score still looks really good from last night against Lattimore. I wish I could get fantasy points for drawing personal foul penalties that probably should have been called on you, but you don't get those. So the problem with DK Metcalf is after his long touchdown, he didn't have another target for 38 minutes in the game. He ended up with 5. But one of those targets was that weird last-second desperation heave on 4th and 100 by Geno Smith. So my point with DK Metcalf is that offense, that passing game, the offense in general is in shambles without Russell Wilson, as expected. I don't know what they're going to do, if they're going to stick with Geno Smith, if they're going to give Jacob Eason a shot, if they're going to bring somebody else in. I have no idea. But I think that DK Metcalf and especially Tyler Lockett are just very volatile starts in fantasy for the next 3-4 weeks until Russell gets back. So if I'm in win now mode, I mean, he's wide receiver, PPR wide receiver 8 still. He's still a stud. So, I mean, I'm not saying just give him away. But I think you could get a pretty decent RB2 and probably a pretty decent wide receiver 2 for DK Metcalf still. And if you need to win now, that might be your way to go.
I mean, I have a hard time with this just because I love DK Metcalf, which is crazy because you're a Seahawks fan.
Yeah.
Versus me. I hear what you're saying. If you have to win now, then yeah, you can. As long as you're deep enough at receiver to absorb losing a DK Metcalf, or you think you can get a receiver of equal value for DK Metcalf, I'm for it. Yeah, I mean, on the premise that you're trying to win right this week, 100%, I agree.
Yeah, I'm with you too, Scott. I think right now we've seen what Geno Smith's ceiling is. It's not great. He's kind of even lucky he had that long touchdown that wasn't called back too. I was surprised.
That seemed so out of place in that game. It was just like, what was that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we'll see what happens with DK Metcalf moving forward. But I think we're all pretty conclusive. If you can get something good for him, now might be the time.
Yep.
All right, I want to round out temperature check here, guys, with my final sell high candidate, and that's going to be Deebo Samuel. And, again, this is a tough one because Deebo has really carried a lot of fantasy teams up to this point. I know this is tough to hear, but he might be at his peak. We don't know what's going to happen. We've already kind of touched on it earlier. I'm not expecting Jimmy Garoppolo, unless they come out and maybe win, the next 3 games in a row or 2 of the next 3, which I think they have the Cardinals and the Rams in 2 of those games. So they have some tough games coming up, and I don't expect them to win too many of them. So I'm expecting Trey Lance to eventually get this job. The trade deadline's also right around the corner too, so maybe we see Jimmy G shipped out. I'm not really sure what they're looking for in him at this point. And we kind of heard Kyle Shanahan over the weekend kind of give a pretty dismal, yeah, he's a starter for now. So I just think, wow, Scott touched on Trey Lance being a valuable fantasy asset. I just don't think he's going to be that valuable for Deebo Samuel, at least to what we're seeing right now. George Kittle's eventually going to come back as well. Jeff Wilson's another playmaker we could see back here in November. I just don't think it's going to get much better. And, I'm cool with keeping Deebo Samuel. There's a chance I could see him still finishing as a wide receiver 1 on the season like he has been so far. But if I could, ship him out for a Nick Chubb and a lesser wide receiver, Jalen Waddle, Michael Pittman, or, Aaron Jones and one of those receivers, I'm totally cool with that. I don't know what the gauge is out there on Deebo Samuel if other people are low on him, but like you said earlier, Scott, you show them those stats, you show them that wide receiver. I think he's PPR wide receiver 6, possibly 5, 5 on the season. So I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued enough to sell him, I think.
Given what San Francisco is and his value right now, he's had some enormous games. Yeah, I'd sell him. You can get a fair amount back.
His value is never going to be higher. I think about him and Mike Williams in the same breath.
Yeah.
Here's the thing though. It's we always have these conversations, and it doesn't mean, we want people to know, it doesn't mean we don't like these players. All we're talking about is the potential value you could get at this point for a given player. And Deebo's will probably never be higher. Nobody saw wide receiver 5 after 6 games for him. Nobody saw that.
No.
The only reason I'm hesitant about, as far as it not continuing, is the issue we all thought we were going to have with the 49ers pass catchers all season was either Deebo getting in Ayuk's way or Ayuk getting in Deebo's way, with Kittle obviously there as well. Ayuk seems to have disappeared. He's no longer present in this universe. So there is that. Maybe Ayuk turns it around, but oh man, he looked bad on Sunday night. Holy crap. I mean, he looked
Yeah.
What's so weird about Ayuk is that last year one of my thoughts on him was he looked like a veteran. He looked like a polished player. And
Yeah.
he just regressed to it's bizarre. Anyway, but yeah, like with any of these that we're talking about, I mean, if you can get a king's ransom for Deebo Samuel at this point, it's probably worth it.
100%. Guys, this has been a great selling, buying discussion here in Temperature Check. Let's go ahead and move forward in the show with our next segment, Matchup Management, once again presented by Underdog Fantasy.
That's right. Underdog Fantasy is awesome. If you haven't played on Underdog, now is the best time to get started. So if you sign up today with the promo code IBT, they're going to match your initial deposit up to $100. You put $100 in, you have $200 to play with. It doesn't get better than that. They have amazing pick'em contests where you can stack up to 5 props and win 20 times your money. That's fantastic. Nobody else has anything like that going on right now, at least not with that kind of payout. Plus, you've got the 1 week drafts. They're 12 team, they're 6 team, they're 3 team. You go in, you draft. It's not like DraftKings where everybody's taking the same players and you're looking for that one guy who goes off that week, and that's the only way you win. These are straight up normal head-to-head fantasy matchups. So hop onto your app store on your Mac or your Mac. I don't have an iPhone. Hop onto the app store on your iPhone. Get onto the Google Play Store on your Android, download the app, make a $10 deposit minimum. You're going to get 100% match up to $100. Make sure you sign up with the code IBT. Get playing today.
Who you got?
Matchup management.
Who's it gonna be?
All right, you guys know how matchup management works. I'm going to go through a series of players who were either disappointments or breakouts here in week 7. We're going to tell you what our confidence is on a scale of 1 to 10 that they should be in your starting lineups heading into week 8. Guys, I want to start with Darrell Williams. He was a part of that dismal game for the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, who saw just the beatdown that came from the Tennessee Titans? I definitely didn't. Here, Darrell Williams, he comes back into the fold now against the Giants, who beat up on the Carolina Panthers here in week 7 too. So only 8 PPR points for Darrell Williams, who's still in for the veteran injured Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So Darrell Williams, he's back with us. Are you excited to play Darrell Williams, guys, heading into this matchup against the Giants? They're ranked 22nd against the RB right now. They've given up, 3 pretty big games in the last couple of weeks. Other than Chuba Hubbard was held to under 10 PPR points, but Zeke, Darrell Henderson, between those two, they had 3 TDs in 2 weeks. Both had great RB1 performances on the week. So Darrell Williams, is he in your lineups this week? And if so, what's your level of confidence on him?
Yeah, I mean, if I have him, I'm probably starting him because he's filling in for somebody who's injured. I'm at like a 6.5 to 7, just because I'm concerned about the Chiefs offense. But I mean, yeah, 6.5, 7. I'd start him and just understand that his ceiling might be kind of low this week.
Yeah, I'm at a 6. I mean, man, he really picked the wrong week to lay a big turd on the field. With 6 teams on bye, I was so excited on all the teams I had him. I was like, oh, look at this diamond in the rough I found for Bionado, and then just cursed black. But, that game seemed a little fluky for the Chiefs. I mean, they're not going to put up 3 points. I mean, even Patrick Mahomes didn't even get any garbage time points in that game. That's not going to happen very often.
Right.
The Giants, they don't have as good of an offense as Tennessee. So I think that Kansas City is going to win this game handily, and I think he's going to get more than 5 carries this week.
Yes.
So,
right.
and he's getting targeted. He's 4 or 5 targets a game since he kind of took over for CEH. So I'm starting him. I'm somewhat confident. Like if I have him at my RB2, I'm kind of like, okay. If I have him at a flex, then I'm pretty excited. But kind of low ceiling, high floor I see for him this week.
I'm with you guys on there.
Yep.
I think you kind of summed it all up. We'll see what happens with Darrell Williams here. Probably don't have a better choice heading into week 8, but we'll see how it shakes out, guys. Another player I want to talk who's kind of been a little disappointing just throughout the whole season, really, is T. Higgins. Obviously, we've seen Jamar Chase. You guys probably know the escalades right now, or the accolades if you've been paying any attention in the NFL. He's breaking records, most receiving yards through 7 games ever for a rookie. It's just been an utter sensational performance from Jamar Chase. Joe Burrow's looked phenomenal while doing as well, but it's kind of left Tyler Boyd really out to dry lately. And T. Higgins, since he came back from injury, he's been okay. 13.2 PPR points here in week 7, 7 for 62, not too bad, but 15 targets for T. Higgins, which was really great to see. He's going up against the Jets here in week 8, which, on the surface, you think the Jets are pretty awful, but we talked about it a couple times. Those young corners are playing really good, and the way you beat the Jets is on the ground. They're ranked 32nd to opposing RBs, while they're ranked 3rd against wide receivers. So, it's a dicey call here. Like there's not a lot of teams on bye, so you kind of have options. Scott, what's your level of confidence on throwing T. Higgins out there this week?
I'm basically the same with him as I was with Darrell Williams. I'm at a 6 with T. Higgins. And oddly enough, part of that is the matchup. It just seems so bizarre to be, worried about a matchup against the Jets.
Right.
I mean, here's the deal. They as far as fantasy points allowed, they have been top 5. Now, whether that means teams can run it so easily so they don't need to pass, or they're actually good at defending the pass, that doesn't matter. They're not giving up the points, So, so I'm a little hesitant with him, but at the same time, with the talent, he's another one of those guys. If I got him, I don't see who I'm starting over him.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in leagues with, if you've got a couple of different flex spots, or three wide receiver leagues, like I don't think I have a deep enough bench to start anybody over T. Higgins.
Yeah,
Jamar Chase is insane.
Yeah, it's true. So I'm at I'm going to say 7 on T. Higgins. I think that Cincinnati is going to absolutely throttle the Jets on Sunday. And I think that you're going to see enough of their coverage going towards Jamar Chase that's going to open up Higgins a little bit, as it should every week. And we saw it last week, 15 targets.
Yeah.
So he's getting open more often. I can see T. Higgins having kind of a big game. And I think Jamar Chase is going to have a big game too. But I think they could hang 50 on this Jets team.
We just saw New England do it.
Dude,
so.
Mac Jones just did it. And I think Cincinnati's a better team.
Yeah, it will depend how hard they want to go, how much they want to show, because they do have some tougher matchups on the slate coming back up with some of those division rivals coming back. So, but I mean, yeah.
And to Scott's point, if you have T. Higgins on your roster, chances are you don't have a better option than T. Higgins to start in whatever place you have to start him. Yeah, exactly. Don't get cute.
Yeah, I'm not getting cute.
It's getting cute. That's what it is.
Probably see anywhere from 7 to 11 targets. So I'm definitely interested in T. Higgins this week. I'm going to agree with you.
Just need a few of those CJ Uzoma touchdowns to go to T. Higgins.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Speaking of dudes that won me matchups during by NATO.
Dude.
A lot of people.
Super proud boyfriend moment. Last week, Katie picked up CJ Uzoma, threw him in the lineup, and Scott Fishbowl just dominated for her. I was really proud on that one. She did a great job. Moving forward, guys, Antonio Gibson, he has been, talk about a roller coaster ride. Really have not seen the upside we saw last year. We talked about it. A lot of his fantasy points came in, select handful of games last season, one of them on Thanksgiving. Back-to-back disappointing performances. Here in week 7, outsnapped by J.D. McKissick, the scat back, 45-29. Obviously, the bad defense has led to, disappointing outcomes for Antonio Gibson, still dealing with that shin injury as well. This week, they're Nate's sad Denver Broncos. That's who they got this week. Dearness Johnson on Thursday Night Football just tore them apart. So where are you guys at on Antonio Gibson? I don't expect Denver to be nearly the offensive opponent that they faced lately. So this could be a game that they're kind of in it from the start.
It's probably a game. Oh, go ahead, Scott.
I'm around a 7 on Antonio Gibson. I still believe in the talent. I still believe I think a massive game is coming. all the numbers are there to show why he's been disappointing. I mean, he hasn't been getting the targets. That's been going to McKissick. He's under 4 yards a carry. You know, he hasn't been super efficient. He's battled some injury. You know, there's a couple games there where it felt like just pins and needles. Is he gonna stay upright during this game? And Denver, I mean, they got torched by Dearness Johnson, but they're going to have a long rest after that, and their numbers still show they're pretty strong against the run. All that being said, I'm still rolling Antonio Gibson out there, no question. I mean, we could beat a dead horse with this comment, but there's no one, especially with all the injuries, that I'm starting over him. But even outside of that, I still have confidence in him. And I think even without all of the pass catching we were hoping for, the CMC 2.0 thing, I still just think he's a guy that could take it to the house on any given play. I still think that ceiling's there. Yards per carry can be misleading. So I'm still rolling him out there. I'm at a 7.
I'd say I'm at about an 8, depending on his health status. That's my only concern. If he's still slow in practice, if he's still limited, when Washington goes up in this game by a couple touchdowns, you're going to see a reduced usage of Gibson. And I like, not to like punctuate the sad Broncos fan thing, but like really this defense, their stats are really pumped up by those first 3 weeks against 3 really bad teams.
Yeah, the same with Carolina.
Yeah, same with Carolina. And now you're seeing what Denver really is, which is a defense with a lot of holes in it that has dealt with a lot of injuries. Our secondary isn't great. Teams are easily throwing the ball against Denver, and they're not having a problem running it. Nothing against Dearness Johnson, but man, that performance was aided by the Denver defense. So if Gibson's full speed, I mean, this could be a 100-yard, 2-touchdown game for him. Easy.
Yeah. Would you guys like my issue? I just think it's a low floor for Gibson, which I hate to say that. Like that's the only thing we're risking here a little bit that I think viewers, listeners, they need to be conscious of is, you know, he's only seen 3 targets max since week 1. JD McKissick seems like he has the higher floor right now. If you're looking for a floor play, would you rather throw out McKissick right now, who's, you know, seen 5+ targets in a majority of games?
I would, if you're looking for a floor play.
If you're looking for a floor play, then I'd say that's probably a good. I don't know. I still like Antonio. I think part of the reason too is the game scripts have not necessarily been in the football team's favor.
Yeah, this could be one.
And I feel like this game, not that they're going to blow Denver out, but they're not going to get blown out by Denver.
Yeah.
No.
In my opinion, I don't think that's going to happen. So I'm curious to see what will happen if he gets, you know, because he's had a couple games. He had a game of 20 carries. You know, I mean, not many running backs are getting 20 carries in any given game these days. So I'm curious to see what will happen. Again, I'm comfortable rolling him out there as my RB2. He's my RB1. I'm a little concerned about that. Like, say, for instance, in Scott Fishbowl, where I also have David Montgomery. But as an RB2, I'm still rolling him out there. I'm not giving up yet.
All right, guys. Last one for you here. Michael Carter. Michael Carter, you know, he was a guy we really staked our flag in IVT as a whole early in the offseason. Yeah, Baker Mayfield on the Oklahoma 50-yard line. You guys know how it goes. But it's been 3 straight double-digit performances from the rookie. Saw 72% of the snaps here in week 7. No Tevin Coleman. He got hurt late in the week in practice. So it might just be him and Ty Johnson back out there. We really don't know. And it's either going to be Mike White or Joe Flacco here. Mike White would obviously probably give you more confidence in Michael Carter just because he checked down an insane amount of times. I think it was like 14 targets to running backs last week. Bengals, that's who they're going up against. We already kind of previewed that matchup a little bit. 17th against opposing running backs. So, you know, a very mid-level defense, I'd say. They have faced some really good backs. So with that said, let's assume Joe Flacco is going to be the starter, because I would imagine if they went out and traded it for him, he's going to be the starter. What is on the scale, what is your guys' confidence here in Michael Carter?
I'm at like a 6. I like his upside, but I'm concerned if it's Flacco, and it probably will be Flacco. They're probably going to throw the ball more than they do with Zach Wilson.
Well, and Flacco's a deep shot specialist too.
Exactly.
We've always known him to stretch the field a little bit.
Right.
Scott, are you kind of getting the same vibes?
Yeah, I'm in the same 5 or 6 range. I will say Michael Carter did make his first appearance in the top 36 PPR running backs this week.
Yeah.
So he snuck in there. He snuck in there. Him and Kenyon Drake joined the top 36 this week. But is Tevin Coleman still going to be out? I don't know.
Yeah.
The answer to that question.
I'm pretty sure he is. Everything
Okay,
I do not
matters
have-
too much, but Carter's one of those guys. Like there were a fair amount of guys this past week during Binado where they're on my bench. I don't hate him. I'm not dropping him, and I was forced to play him, and they came through like a Russell Gage and a Brian Edwards and a Michael Carter.
Yep.
So I think his usage is there's an uptick in his usage, and the Bengals have been playing pretty well, so this could be a game script that could, even though Joe Flacco is not known for a lot of passes out of the backfield, if we're talking RB3 flex territory, I'm at about a 5 or a 6 of confidence with him, more so than I was a few weeks ago. I mean, it was looking pretty grim as this season progressed with him, but last few weeks have been refreshing.
Last thing I'll say about the rookie there out of North Carolina is if I do have him in any fantasy leagues, this might be a time I'm looking to sell him. People are kind of thin on RB right now. Like I kind of talked about him as someone I would maybe put in a package to try to get Julio Jones. That's something I'd still consider. Like I like Michael Carter. I think he's going to have a strangle in that backfield, and that could totally backfire on me. He could take this Jets backfield and be super relevant. But I feel like the last time we've seen a Jets running back be very good, it was like Elijah McGuire in like 2017, 2018. So I'm looking at this as an opportunity to sell high on him. Guys, before we move forward in our final or second to last segment of the show, we do have a question from one of our audience members, Kellen Brown, coming to us from YouTube. He has Stephon Diggs and Austin Eckler. Should he trade that for Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas, and TJ Hawkinson? So I'm assuming he has the Eckler side already now, and he's looking to acquire Kamara, Michael Thomas, and
He says he gets the Eckler side.
Yeah. He gets the Eckler side?
Yeah, it looks like he would get the Eckler side.
The way I break down this trade is I think Kamara and Austin Eckler are probably about on an even playing field. Maybe I like Austin Eckler a little more. And I do like you guys know my love for TJ Hawkinson.
Yeah.
He was one of my all-ins. But with that being said, I still don't think Michael Thomas and TJ Hawkinson equals Stephon Diggs. So I think I would rather have the Eckler and Diggs side.
Yeah, I'm with you. There's too much up in the air with Michael Thomas at this point.
Yeah.
And
value.
Yeah, we don't know if he's even going to play. He might come off IR and give the team the finger and say, I'm out.
Yeah.
And not play. And Hawkinson just hasn't popped. And we keep waiting for him to pop.
Week 1 and 2, he popped a little bit.
Okay, he popped week 1 and week 2. He hasn't popped since. But I would Hawkinson versus Diggs, you're just going to get more value out of Diggs over Hawkinson if we eliminate Michael Thomas from the equation.
Yeah, hopefully you can grab a guy like maybe one of the short thing sleepers of the week we're going to bring up here in a minute and plug and play in your tight end, or maybe, go out and try to acquire someone like a Dawson Knox on the cheap as well, with just one of these other tight ends that might be floating out there. Great question though. That's a really good trade for both sides, I feel like. Guys, let's go ahead and move into our final segment of the night. Short thing sleepers of the week. Once again, presented by our friends over at Stevens Quality Barbering Services. Guys, if you need a haircut, I need to get myself back in actually. I was just there a couple weeks ago, but I need to freshen up. Stevens Quality Barbering Service is the place to go. They're on State Street in Kerwinsville, PA. Been going my guy Noah for about 7 years now. I'll always enjoy, it's a quality conversation, a quality haircut at a quality price. So if you guys want to get hooked up by Noah, if you want to get in there, get freshened up, the holidays are right around the corner. I need to get cut. I need to get trimmed up for the holidays. I need to be looking my best when I finally see some family again after not seeing them for maybe a year plus. So I'm going to be checking in at stevens-quality.genbook.com to book an appointment there in Kerwinsville, PA with our boy Noah Stevens. All right, guys. And with that said, let's go ahead and move to Sure Things Sleepers of the Week.
It's the Sure Thing. Sleepers of the Week.
All right, guys. You guys know Sure Things Sleepers of the Week. If you haven't listened or watched our show before, what we try to do in Sure Things is just give you guys some players who are either, on the lower side of your bench or players you could pick up still and plug into your lineup and have some confidence heading into Week 8 here. Let's start with who had the worst by NATO experience? Who out of you and Scott, who had a worse experience? I want to give some generosity to them.
Well, I'll start.
Yeah.
I somehow, some way, it was one of those weeks. I think I tweeted about it early on. I really hope the players I'm being forced to play that I would really never play have good games, and that happened a fair amount. I went 11-4 in my in my games, and it would have been 12-3. I played Dearness Johnson and Uzama against our friend Third and Short, and I still lost because Patrick Mahomes scored like 9 points.
Right.
I lost by like that much. So he and I were going back and forth. It was pretty fun. But yeah, I don't know. Sometimes that just happens. Like I had tons of buys. I had tons of teams with buys. It wasn't that I dodged the buys. The fantasy gods were with me this week. So
Nate, were they with you?
That's a no. I had a couple leagues where, to be fair, these are much deeper leagues than normal redraft, where I had to start Denzel Mims.
Whew.
I had to start Josh Allen at quarterback because I literally had no other option. And I tried to work and make some trades and nobody was interested. And I wasn't going to, the thing was that I went into this by NATO week thinking I'm not selling the farm for 1 week.
Right.
If I lose, I lose.
Right.
If I have to start a guy who's going to get me 0.5 points or Justin Fields who got me negative points, I'd rather lose this week and still maintain my rosters. So, it wasn't a great week, but we're through it and I'm just glad it's over.
Yeah, I got to tell you, my teams where I have Dak and CD stacked and Najee Harris, I love in the rest of the season. Love it.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Nate, we'll go ahead and give you some generosity here, man. Take it away with your Sure Thing Sleep of the Week.
So I was planning on talking about Alan Lazard earlier today. And then he went on the COVID list with Davante Adams. So the Green Bay Packers this week are now without Davante Adams and Alan Lazard. That's painful. However, there's this guy that was a condition of Aaron Rodgers playing this season. They had to trade for him. You may have heard of him. His name is Randall Cobb. And he is going to feast this week because Aaron Rodgers knows him, loves him, wanted him, and now he's without Davante Adams and Alan Lazard. He's going to be the top target. He's already gone off once, and it makes sense that he's not getting a ton of volume given that offense, and he's new, and there's Davante Adams and Aaron Jones.
They've been winning games a lot, too. They haven't had to throw.
Right. They haven't had to throw the ball as much. This week, even if they don't have to throw the ball a ton, Randall Cobb's going to be the guy getting all the targets. And if you have him on your roster, awesome. If you don't, you should probably go get him at this point, we're past waivers, so you can just get him as a free agent for the most part in most leagues.
It's Tuesday, Nate. You're a day ahead.
Oh my God, it is Tuesday.
Yeah, tonight's waiver
Go
night.
get it. Go get it. If you don't already have him rostered, go get him on waivers because he's good. If you need a 1 week big play, go get Randall Cobb. He's going to blow it out of the park tonight, or blow it out of the water, hit it out of the park, however you want to put it. He's going to have a massive game this week.
All right. Robert Tonyan hopefully can get involved too. And then
I don't have a lot of hope for that.
Can we get a free Aaron Jones chant going back again? Because if there's a week to do it, AJ, man, let's pull through here, man.
Speaking of a potential buy low, Aaron Jones might fish a little bit for him.
Fair. Yep.
Yes, sir. I love that, Nate. I love that you've been breaking news to me because I've been tied up with work in the last couple hours and I haven't had a chance to check on the Deshaun Watson or the Lazard news. So I appreciate that, man. We got some poll vote bombs over here dropping. Scott, who is your sure thing heading into week 8?
My sure thing is a player we've mentioned before, but it's Kenneth Gainwell, running back for the Philadelphia Eagles. So this time around, it is very directly related to the fact that Miles Sanders hurt his ankle. and seemingly is out 2 to 3 weeks, I think was the last I saw. So now I don't see Kenneth Gainwell stepping in and just being like a workhorse running back. That's not really how he's built. He doesn't really fit that mold. Now last week, Boston Scott annoyingly came in and grabbed 7 carries to Gainwell's 5. But you got to think about it. You know, they weren't expecting a Sanders injury, obviously, so they didn't have any time to plan for a Sanders injury. So typically when that kind of thing happens, the running back playing Gainwell's role doesn't just change roles mid-game. He stays in his role and they put in a backup. So I think that's kind of what happened with Boston Scott. I'm not saying Kenneth Gainwell is going to take over that role. They also have Jordan Howard on their practice squad they can bring up. So it's still going to be a little bit messy. But at the same time, I just think he has the opportunity in the next few weeks, the way he catches the ball out of the backfield, the electricity he has shown on some plays. And just with their lack of weapons really all around with the Eagles, that I think he's going to have a big game. And they're playing who are they playing? I wrote it down somewhere. Lions. Sorry, couldn't find it. They're playing the Detroit Lions, so who are bad against both running and pass catching running backs.
Yeah, battle the beaten, baby.
Yeah, I'm ready for a Kenneth Gainwell breakout game.
Well, he's been calling it. He's been calling this shot, guys, since probably I think maybe before Kenneth Gainwell was even on the Eagles back in April.
Yeah, when he was still in high school.
Yeah. Well, Scott, I like it, man. I think definitely if I have Gainwell, I'm firing him out in lineups. I'm comfortable spending a little bit of fab, depending what you have left on him as well this week. Good call with that, Scott.
Yep, it's a good one.
Round us.
All right, Seth.
Yeah, I'll round us out here, guys. Luckily, no bye NATO this week. Just 2 teams on bye, as we mentioned, Baltimore and Las Vegas. So you might be looking for some tight end help out there with both Mark Andrews and Darren Waller, 2 top 5 tight ends out. So I'm going to go with Hunter Henry here. And, I've been digging on Henry for a little bit, but 4 straight games with a TD. And it looks like Nate's guy, Mac Jones, has a real connection with this guy in the red zone.
Yep.
And, I think shame on a lot of us in the industry who definitely undervalued Henry and his presence here in New England. He's always been a good PPR tight end. Jonnu Smith is banged up. Season gets worse for him after the big contract as well. And guys, a couple things I think are really leaning in Hunter Henry's favor to have a big game. First, they're playing the Chargers. They allow the second most tight end points in PPR leagues to the position. So you got to love that. And once again, I said the Chargers, guys. This is a revenge game against a team that is the second worst against the position. I think Hunter Henry is just going to get fed here, honestly. I mean, he's been a great target. We've seen the receivers get involved a little bit in the last couple of weeks. Nelson Aguilar's had a little bit of a redemption tour. Kendrick Bourne's been solid.
Yes.
Nate wrote about him in a column earlier today, and Jacoby Meyer's been good. But I like Hunter Henry, man. I think he is if there was ever a time I was really confident in Hunter Henry, it's now.
I agree. This could be a week where he has 2 touchdowns.
Yep.
And 60, 70 yards receiving.
They're going to be trailing too, probably. So they're going to have to throw.
Yeah, they are going to have to throw. And Mac Jones, like you said, Hunter Henry is Mac Jones' boy. He loves him. And he can lean on him. He's like a safety blanket in the red zone these last 4 weeks. And I think we're going to see a lot of Hunter Henry this week. It's a good call.
Yeah, I agree. I'm eating crow on Hunter Henry. I thought it would be Jonnu Smith. I mean, it's not unreasonable to think that with that contract Jonnu Smith got that they would try and get him the ball more often, but he's battled the same injury issues. And I was just wrong. I mean, Hunter Henry was a target monster in LA, and he's kind of just doing the same thing he did with the Patriots, and the young rookie's looking his way. So, I mean, he's a guy, sure thing sleeper every week. He's a guy to pick up and potentially have as your tight end the rest of the season.
Yeah, I'm definitely rolling with Hunter Henry here in week 8. Excited to see that. I called the revenge game shot with David Johnson last week, which felt a lot ballsier, and that he came through with 10 PPR points, which is what we were hoping for. So I'll call it again, man. I'm all about that revenge game. Let's see it for Hunter Henry here in week 8, guys.
Yep.
All right, let's go ahead and move into the final segment of today's show, Weekly Advice.
Weekly advice.
All right. Those new to the show today, weekly advice is our way of concluding the majority of our shows with some feel-good lifestyle advice to get you through the rest of your week and, get you through whatever's coming up on the horizon. Right now on the horizon, guys, it's none other than Old Man Winter. He's knocking. Days, they're getting shorter all of a sudden. They're getting colder. Finally put on my winter jacket again last week for the first time in a while. I was around a fire over the weekend, so it was nice, but it was definitely chilly. So I want to talk about how, because there's always a time seasonal depression is a big issue with a lot of people, especially if you live anywhere that's remotely cold. In the Northeast, it's definitely a present issue. How do we continue to, stay productive, stay active, and stay happy during this colder season that's approaching?
It's tough, man, especially because, for someone who has lived here in the cold in Denver, Colorado, where it's cold, it's dry, it's snowy. It's hard, but find a workout you like on TV if you want to be super active, which sounds silly, but it's something Jen and I do. Like, we find YouTube workouts and stuff, and just to get our blood moving and to get your blood pumping. Even something as simple as do 10 sit-ups and 10 push-ups in the morning when you wake up, get your blood flowing and go. And I always try and look at it as, I just want this to go by as quickly as possible. And the busier I am, the more active I am during the winter, the quicker it goes. I don't want to just sit on the couch being sad that it's cold and dumb and dark at 4:30. So, do things that make you happy, do things that keep you energized, pick up a hobby, which sounds like a weird thing. It sounded weird coming out of my mouth, but pick up a hobby, keep yourself busy. Find little things to keep yourself busy. Maybe there's a room you've been meaning to clean out for a while. What better time than when it's freezing cold and you can't go outside anyway than to clear out that room and use it for something, repurpose it. We have a room I need to repurpose for an office, and I hope Jen's not watching. She's going to hold me to that now. But she definitely is watching. So,
Scott, what do you got for us, man?
Some of the same things. I think, it doesn't get as cold in Seattle, but it still is pretty miserable. I walked to get my girls from school today. It was just windy, rainy, cold.
Yeah.
But you just have to find a reason, even if it's for a little while, to get yourself outside. You have to figure out a way and find a way. I work from home, so this backdrop you see behind me is basically where I am all the time. Yeah. And I'll go, yesterday, I went outside to let the dog out, maybe. That was it. I was wrapped up in everything, and then all of a sudden I was going to bed, and I was like, wow, I didn't really get any fresh air today. So I think even if it's just a little bit, even if it's just going outside and inhaling some fresh air, going back inside, those little things add up in kind of preventing that, that creeping seasonal depression from coming in when it's, like Nate said, when it's dark and rainy and your team sucks. So similar type advice. It's a lot harder to do. I know, especially if you want to go outside and exercise, that sort of thing. It sucks. You're inside, you're cozy. You don't want to go outside, but you gotta find a way.
I love that, guys. My final piece of advice for, trying to make this transition as smooth as possible with productivity, wellness overall and it's actually a tip I got recently from a good friend of the show, Dan Turner, over there at Champions Round. And Dan told me, it was a different context, but told me, make a list. It was about something else, but it was about, make a list. And I think that really applies here because Katie and I there you go. Yeah. Katie and I have talked about those for our audio listeners. Scott just showed us a huge list that he has. Oh, yeah. And Katie and I have been talking about things we have to do around the house before winter. And I was like, we need to make a list because if I don't see it, I'm not going to do it. Same with remembering to go outside. Scott, I work from home too. Half the time I'm a hybrid worker. So there's, Mondays and Wednesdays I'm home. And, sometimes I have to be reminded to literally go outside. I know that sounds crazy, but there have been days, especially, when you're not feeling the best, it's colder outside that it's 2 days later. I'm like, oh, I haven't been outside since Monday and it's Wednesday. You know what I mean? So just yeah, definitely make a list if you can. Whether that's, you know, productive things you want to do around the house or other things, you know, career related, or just, you know, fun things you want to do too. Cause there's definitely, you know, get your local kids out there, have a snowball fight, whatever it is, guys. But let's make the most of it. We still got, you know, another 9 weeks of fantasy football seasons this year. I'm super excited for what's down the pipeline, guys. We're gonna have some really cool things heading as we get around the holiday season as well here at In Between Media. So make sure you guys stay with us. If you want to hit that subscribe button on YouTube, make sure you do that. Click that bell. We really appreciate all the support, not just tonight, but every night of the season, guys. We got content coming out for you Monday through Sunday, and we're going to continue to do that every day of the week until the end of the season, guys. So you're stuck with us. We'll be back next week. Until then, guys, keep it in between.
The In Between Fantasy Football Podcast.
The one thing that, you know, really sets us apart here is we're not afraid to talk about other things that maybe aren't super fantasy related.
Do what you can